Dianna Ortiz was an American Roman Catholic sister of the Ursuline order. While serving as a missionary in Guatemala, she was abducted on November 2, 1989, by members of the Guatemalan military, detained, raped, and tortured for 24 hours before being released. After her release, Ortiz reported that an American was among her captors. This part of her account could not be confirmed. Ortiz pursued her case in a Guatemalan court and in a United States civil court. In the latter, she was the first to seek civil damages under the Torture Victim Protection Act passed in 1992. She filed a case against the Guatemalan Minister of Defense, General Hector Gramajo, in power at the time of her abduction, arguing that he had command authority. In 1995, she was awarded $5 million in damages. She also filed a case with the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights. In 1996, as a result of protests by Ortiz and others, as well as revelations of unauthorized KIA funding of the Guatemala military, which had been prohibited by Congress in 1990, U.S. President Bill Clinton ordered the release of KIA papers associated with her case. Clinton also ordered the declassification of decades of documents related to U.S. relations with Guatemala. These showed that a Guatemalan colonel paid by the KIA was implicated in the deaths of the American Michael Devine in 1990 and guerrilla leader Efrain Bamaca Velázquez in 1993. Congress closed down the KIA program. It also showed decades of United States support of Guatemala during its genocide of its rural indigenous people. The Center for Constitutional Rights represented Ortiz in her civil case and before the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, which found in 1997 that the state of Guatemala had violated numerous articles of the American Convention on Human Rights in regard to Ortiz. It recommended that the government complete its long-delayed investigation and that it provide compensation to Ortiz. Ortiz was born on September 2, 1958, in Colorado Springs, Colorado, the middle of 8 children born to Ambrosia and Pela Ortiz, a homemaker and uranium miner, respectively. Wanting the religious life from the time she was a child, Dianna entered the novitiate at age 17 at the Ursuline Sisters of Mount St. Joseph in Maple Mount, Western Kentucky. Upon completion, she was accepted as a sister of the Ursuline order. As a Catholic nun, Ortiz went to Guatemala in the 1987 for a 2-year assignment to work with the poor and teach children to read. She joined sisters already working with the indigenous population in San Miguel Acatán and other small villages throughout the department of Huehuetenango. According to her account, in late 1988 the Bishop of Huehuetenango received an anonymous typed document accusing Ortiz and the other sisters in San Miguel of planning to meet with subversives. This was followed in 1989 by written anonymous threats directed and delivered to Ortiz personally, while she was staying in more than one location, showing that she was under continued surveillance. In October 1989, she went to the retreat center of Posada de Belén in Antigua, Guatemala. Ortiz was abducted on November 2, 1989, from the garden of Posada de Belén. She said her captors were police officers who took her to a secret prison at a police academy in Guatemala City. There she was tortured and raped repeatedly under questioning. She said a man named Alejandro was among her torturers, and that she heard him speak English with a North American accent. She wrote in her memoir that her torture stopped when a man with an American accent entered the room and said in English, "Shit." Then he said, in Spanish, to the torturers, "You idiots, leave her alone. She's a North American, and it's all over the news." To Ortiz he said, "You have to forgive those guys. They made a mistake. He was taking her to a friend when she escaped." She said he told her she had been mistaken for a guerrilla with a similar name, Veronica Ortiz Hernandez. Ortiz knew this woman, an indigenous Guatemalan, and said she did not resemble her. When she questioned him about that, she said that Alejandro insinuated that I was to blame for my torture because I had not heeded the threats that were sent to me. She returned to the US from Guatemala within 48 hours of her escape. After being released, Ortiz later said, "The nightmare I lived was nothing out of the ordinary." In 1989, under Guatemala's first civilian president in years, nearly 200 people were abducted. Unlike me, they were disappeared, gone forever. The only uncommon element of my ordeal was that I survived, probably because I was a US citizen, and phone calls poured into Congress when I was reported missing. As a US citizen, I had another advantage. I could, in relative safety, reveal afterwards the details of what happened to me in those 24 hours. One of those details, an American was in charge of my torturers. She saw a doctor in Guatemala and